Welcome to Module 10 of Marketing 670. Today, what I wanted to talk about was the customer journey and the 4 Ps of marketing. Um, customer journey refers to this idea that the customer doesn't just interact with your product when they are using your product. They don't just interact with you when they're using your product. There's a whole process by which they decide to buy something, use it, etc. And so we were talking in the past couple of sessions about this idea of positioning. Um, Positioning is really the sort of foundation of marketing strategy. But eventually that positioning needs to be turned into execution. And the 4 Ps are the way that we do that. The 4 Ps are product, price, place, and promotion. And we will talk about each of those in turn. But it's really important to understand the customer journey that the customer goes through in the process of figuring out whether they want to buy your product or need your product, and then determining whether they're going to buy your product or competitor's product, and then using that product, and then whether they then buy that product again. That's what's called the customer journey. So there's 5 steps that are listed in the top part of the diagram on the slide. The first step is called need identification. So back to our we talked a lot about pain points and so forth. Is in the end of the day, we may have identified a customer need, right? They need a place to take their family on vacation. They need a sweet snack that helps them get their kids to drink milk. Whatever it is that they need or that we think they need. They also need to know that they need it. If they don't identify that need, they're not going to purchase our product. So there's a part of the process of marketing which is really about how do I essentially help customers and consumers identify the needs that they have, and sort of create this sense of I need a product to solve this. That's called demand creation sometimes. And that creation of the demand really happens in the part of the process for the consumer where they may not even know that they need what you have. They may not even realize they have the problem that you're talking about until you talk to them about it. So need identification is a very important part of the journey, because if they don't need your product, they're not going to give you their hard-earned money to buy the product. The next piece then is awareness and consideration. The next part of the journey is really about, do they even know? For example, let's say they've identified a need. I need a warm coat for the winter or whatever it is. Or I need something to actually, probably more importantly, I need something that keeps me warm in the winter. Well, if they weren't even aware that coats existed, they'd just be like, well, it's too bad. It's really cold. I'm going to keep walking around with this blanket on or whatever it is. So you need to be aware that your product, the category of product you sell, exists. And then they need to be aware that your brand, your solution to this problem exists. So that's what's meant by awareness. And then consideration is where they're looking at all their options, right? I could just keep using this blanket, or I could buy a warm long warm dress coat, or I could buy a ski parka. There are lots of different solutions to the same problem. So I'm going to go through a process as the consumer. I'm going to go through a process of considering all of those options that are available to me. A lot of that awareness and consideration happens online, right? As I'm searching for what are the possible solutions, and then I'm considering which solutions those are. The next piece then is purchase conversion. This is where I go from being I convert from somebody who was considering buying a product to actually making the decision to make that purchase. And that might happen online, that might happen in a store, that might happen somewhere in between those two. I'm gonna buy something online and ultimately pick it up in the store. But essentially, this is the part where the sale is made. So now that I've bought that, I move into the next stage of the customer journey. Um, and that would be the experience value assessment. In other words, I'm going to use the product and I'm going to decide whether it solved the problem that I had. Do I feel like it is a value? Do I feel like the money I spent on that product was worth it? So that could, does this blanket's not very, it's kind of cumbersome when I'm walking around, or this park is really, really warm, or this long dress coat is great, but it's not so great if I'm going skiing or whatever it is. Like, did it provide the value to solve the unique need that I was trying to solve? In the way that I was expecting it to solve it. So that's the experience value assessment. Is this product, this offering, this service actually providing the value that I was trying to get? And then the last piece we call retention and advocacy. This is where, if you had a great experience, you will go and become a loyal customer and buy this product again. That would be the retention part. Or advocacy is, I might go tell my friends, hey, I just got this, great new, electric car or whatever it is. It's really terrific. It saves me, it's cheaper for gas. It's better on the environment, whatever it is. And it drives really great. I'm going to go tell people, hey, you should get one of these too. That would be advocacy. So that customer journey follows along kind of the whole process of how the customer sort of thinks through making a purchase. Now, in real life, it's not super linear. It doesn't happen exactly this way. Sometimes, the need identification might happen, and then it will take years or months or whatever, weeks, whatever it is, before you become aware of solutions, or you might be aware of the solutions, but you're not considering them. You don't feel like you have enough money. Who knows what it is? It might take, some people make snap decisions about things, or their purchase conversion might be very quick. Other people might really want to do research and so forth. And so they may take a long time in that awareness consideration part of the process. And it's really the purchase and conversion, takes a very long time for them. And then experience that, getting that experience, it might take some time before a product, you really experience how it works. I'll just, as an example, recently, purchased a product from Amazon, and it arrived and we used it and we loved it. And then the second time we went to use it didn't work. So not a good value if it worked once but didn't work the second time. And so we returned it. I am most certainly not going to buy it again, nor am I going to advocate for other people to buy it because it wasn't a good experience. So the retention and advocacy, that in some cases, retention can be, you may have a customer for life, right? You I don't know, whatever, you found some, you found your favorite candy or whatever, and you eat that candy, multiple times a year, and you've been doing it for decades or whatever. That's customer loyalty. That's that retention piece. And you may be off telling people all the time, hey, you should try this. This thing is great. Or I love this, I love the flavor, or whatever it is. So that's the customer journey. So from a marketing perspective, we've developed a positioning. This is the problem that I solve. Here's how I solve it. Here's who I solve it for. I want to now understand the journey that person goes through. Often market research is used at this point to try and understand this process. We talked a little bit when we talked about marketing research about qualitative research methodologies like shop-alongs, dine-alongs, focus groups, etc. But I often may be trying to understand one of these stages, right? Because what I really want is people to know that they need my product, consider the options, decide to pick me, have a great, buy my product, have a great experience, and then tell everybody about it and buy my product over and over again. The way to do that is through the 4 Ps. The 4 Ps, sometimes called the marketing mix, are are sort of the way you execute your offering in at every, sort of along these stages. So the first piece, and I put them in this order. You often see them in different orders, but I put them in this particular order because of how they kind of connect with the stages of the customer journey. So the most relevant P to the first two parts of the customer journey, the need identification and the awareness and consideration, is going to be promotion. This is, are there advertisements talking about, really good advertisements talk about why you need the product and how it saves the day, how it helps you solve the problem that you are trying to solve. So you're advertising, internet, online advertising, um, sometimes articles, thought leadership pieces that you read, whatever, are about trying to create this sense of need identification. It's all part of that promotion P, right? I'm trying to get people to recognize that they need, my, I don't know, my special, cooking knife, or that they need to, some business needs to get HubSpot to manage their relationship with their customers, etc. But promotion is also important in the awareness and consideration part of the customer journey. So it's not enough for them to just know that they, need a new knife that's better at cutting, I don't know, whatever, potatoes, I don't know, whatever it is. They need to also be aware that your special knife exists. They need to know that HubSpot is a great solution for mid to large size companies trying to manage a very large database of potential customers, etc. They need to be aware that your brand exists and that it solves the problem that they've sort of identified in the need identification stage. As they're looking at a whole bunch of different brands, all of whom are advertising, whatever, if you're not in there advertising as well, if they don't know about you, you won't be considered. So you need to create a situation where they are not only aware of your product, but that you are on the list. We often talk in the restaurant world, we often talk about consideration sets, right? Where am I thinking about going for dinner? And I of course have mentioned before that I worked at Cracker Barrel. And often because people often think of Cracker Barrel as a breakfast restaurant, we were often not even in the consideration set for dinner. And so we were trying to grow our dinner offerings. And so we were doing a lot of promotion and advertising around dinner so that people would be aware that we had dinner options, not just breakfast options that would get them to put us in their list. So that's what I mean by consideration. People can know about you, but if they know about you, but they don't consider you for solving the problem they have, they're not going to buy your product. All right, so now we're going to go to purchase conversion. So price often it can be part of the consideration step, but it's also largely part of this purchase conversion step. So that's why it comes next in the 4P list down the bottom. It sort of straddles between consideration and purchase conversion, because as I'm considering what I'm going to buy, I'm looking at price, and if something's way too expensive, I may decide I'm not even going to consider it because I don't have that kind of money. But if it's way too cheap, I may also decide not to consider it. Oh, this is too cheap. It's probably not good quality. But of course, price plays into the purchase conversion step as well. How much does something cost is going to determine how you buy, what you buy. I'm going to buy the car, the economy, sort of small car, or I'm going to get the luxury model or whatever. Am I going to get all those extra, bells and whistles and features and, heated seats and whatever, or I'm going to be like, yeah, that's probably not worth the extra price or whatever. So this is where I'm sort of making my purchase decision. I might be customizing the product a little bit to myself, or I might be choosing between different options. Whatever. I'm trying to figure out how price plays into it and how much I'm willing to pay. Also, though, importantly, part of the purchase conversion process is place. So place is the word that we use because it starts with a P, so it fits with the four Ps. But place really refers to how is the product get to you? How is it distributed? What channels is the word that we often use? What channels does it come through? So, for example, I can buy that winter coat that we were talking about. I could buy it in a clothing store. I could buy it in a Walmart. I could buy it online and have it shipped to my house. All of that ability to get the product to me and how it's going to arrive plays a part in, um, I guess, to some extent, even in the consideration, right? I mean, if there's a store in Wisconsin and I live in Boston, I am not going to go to that store to get it, right? So some of the consideration is I can knock out things that are just don't make sense in terms of the place that I can get it. But more likely is that place issue is going to kind of play into, okay, now I've decided I'm going to buy this product. Where am I going to buy it, and where are the options available to me to buy it? And so if I'm the marketer, or the company that's trying to market this product, if most people are buying winter coats online, and I don't offer my winter coat, say on Amazon or wherever it is that people get these things, then they're not going to buy it because it's not there. So again, this is how the four Ps have to line up with the way people are making their purchases. If most people purchase online, you got to be online. If most people purchase in stores, then you're either going to have stores, or you're going to have to sell through the stores that people go to. The last P is product, and of course, the features of the product and how you talk about all those features played in the promotion step, but the actual product, or which, by the way, in this case can mean um, either a product that's a physical product, that's what we usually call product, or a service. This would be like streaming movies is a service, not a product, or whatever. Sometimes we use the word offering, but again, in the four Ps we use the word product because it starts with P. But the product itself, you really don't truly get to completely interact with the product in most cases until you've purchased it, you've got it home, you've got it out of the box, and you're trying to understand how does that product work? Does it serve the need? Does it live up to the expectations? We talked about trust in a previous session. We talked about trust is, does it deliver on what I expected, and do I trust it to keep delivering on it in that way? And if it does, I'm likely to be like, wow, this was an amazing experience. I love this product. It over delivered on my expectations. So I'm going to buy it again, and I'm going to tell everybody about it. That's that retention and advocacy. If instead I have a terrible experience with that product, my winter coat that we were talking about ends up, it rips, it's thin, the wind goes through it, whatever it is, and it's just like, wow, this was a terrible purchase. I hate it. I really wish I hadn't done it. I might go as far as returning it if it's really terrible, but most of the time what actually happens is I'm just frustrated and annoyed, feel like I wasted my money, and I absolutely am not going to buy it again. So much for the retention. I'm definitely not going to tell other people about it. In fact, because of the world we live in now, where there are things like Google reviews and Amazon reviews and Yelp reviews and whatever it is, when something goes wrong, companies will often hear about it online in the reviews. That's sort of, there's kind of a reverse part of the opposite of advocacy is, you can have detractors, people who say this is a terrible experience. Sort of after the pandemic, restaurants, or this is not the same restaurant that I used to go to. The experience is terrible. The service is awful. The quality is terrible, whatever. And companies have to spend a lot of time monitoring that feedback that they're getting. If they have lots of supporters, lots of fans talking about how great the product is, that's great, because that's what they call social proof that this product works well and creates more of that sense of trust. But if instead people are talking online, it's a terrible experience, I'm never buying this again, don't go to that restaurant, don't use that car wash, don't get that, don't buy that, that piece of equipment or whatever, then you've got a problem as a marketer. You actually have to figure out what's going wrong, fix it quickly. Um, you need to reach out to the people, if you can, reach out to the people that are being detractors and try to make it right, and see if you can sort of convince them to, sort of shift them into being more of a supporter and a fan from being a detractor. So that's what I mean when I say the customer journey, is, all of those steps there, from need identification to retention and advocacy, and how the 4 Ps that we are going to talk about over the next couple of weeks relate to that customer journey. The sentence down the bottom, I think, sort of sums it up. The ultimate goal of marketing is to align the 4 Ps to every step of the customer journey in a way that meaningfully and effectively solves the customer or consumer's pain points. So I thought I would share with you a example of a customer journey map that I found online. I specifically chose this one because it kind of relates to the experience that I had when I was working at the Hershey company, working on candy and chocolate. And this one was a mapping of the customer journey, the consumer journey around um, buying gifts for somebody for Valentine's Day. And so here, this person named Peter is buying Valentine's Day gift for someone, and he goes through his journey. And he sort of goes through and he says, "What are my goals? Well, I need a Valentine's Day gift in that sort of need identification state. I need an identification gift, or I need a Valentine's Day gift." And you can see he's expecting he's going to find some great options. If his expectations are met, is like he's hoping, that his expectations will be met. He's hoping he's going to find a great card and a great box of chocolates. If his expectations fail, he can't find anything good and has nothing for. In this case, it looks like the person he's buying it for, his name is Anne, right? So then he gets into this consideration, awareness and consideration stage, where he is looking on Google for Valentine's gifts. And so he's going to spend, his expectations are, he's going to compare prices on lots of different e-commerce sites. If those expectations are met, he may find personalized ideas and really good prices. But as the expectations are not met, he's going to find Valentine's gifts that maybe aren't going to be delivered on time or are way out of his budget, right? So you can see each step of the way, he has certain expectations. And the question is, whoever can meet those expectations is going to get his dollars. So the next part of his journey in this particular case was around the next stage, that purchase conversion stages. He actually ends up deciding to go to Walgreens and CVS because he is not going to be able to get his products in time. So his expectations are can he physically see what the stores have? Can he find his expectations are, if he goes to the store aisles are filled with lots of options. But if his expectations fail, bad card selection, cheap chocolate choices, and the store is unhelpful. So in this case, he's sort of adding a step where he's saying he's kind of now in this particular journey, he's saying he kind of went back to, all right, now I'm going to compare store versus online. So this is when I say it's not completely linear. In this particular journey, he's saying, I actually go back and rethink my consideration. Should I get online or whatever? So he has to make a decision. His expectation is that the decision becomes obvious where to buy. His expectations being met would be, I'm happy with that decision and deliveries on time. The expectations failed is there's too many choices to make, too many risks, and so I get frustrated. And this is actually why a lot of times people just give up in the process of purchasing. So in this particular case, he decides to make a purchase. In this case, his expectations in the purchase phase is I can make a final decision. And that if his expectations are met, the purchase experience was going to be positive. It's going to be really easy. People are nice to him. He's maybe reminded to use his loyalty points or whatever. If his expectations fail, that would be the sales clerk would be rude, didn't ask if he was a rewards customer. So does he have a good purchase experience? That's really important, not just for the people who are selling the chocolates, but for the CVS or the Walgreens or the online site. That do I have a good experience? Am I going to go back? Right? Because the CVS is offering products, but really what they're offering is a service. You can come and shop here. So that the retail experience is one product, and the actual product that he's buying is a different product. And then the last stage is that sort of retention and advocacy. Was he happy with this purchase, right? Does he the expectations is he feels like a valued customer. In this case, I think he's talking about the retail experience. Like if his expectations are met, he's going to get offers and savings for the future. If expectations fail, he said, I don't feel valued by the merchant, and I get a lot of spam emails and offers that I don't care about. If we were doing this journey more for the product instead of the shopping experience, it might be, was the package, did the package look great? Was the intended receiver of this gift happy with the gift? The chocolates were great, whatever it is, great experience. And I'm going to do this again next year because she loved it, or whatever. Expectations failed. If you're looking at the product, might be product is terrible. When you open the package, there wasn't very much in it. It looked much bigger than it really was. Those kinds of things. So did I have a great experience? And if I have a great experience, I'm going to repeat that next year, or I might even repeat it for Easter or some other holiday. So the reason I sort of bring this up from the Hershey company is, this was something we really thought about a lot in the Hershey company, was seasonal purchases, because chocolate is purchased, obviously all year round, but particularly certain holidays, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, and Easter were super big holidays. There were literally teams that spent all year only thinking about Halloween, or only thinking about Christmas and Valentine's Day. Or only thinking about Easter. And they really thought about this sort of journey mapping stuff. As it turns out, just as a random example, that people buy Easter candy in stores. Easter candy actually tends to go up. So Christmas candy is up. As soon as the holidays are done, all that candy goes out. Valentine's Day candy goes up pretty quickly. And then Easter candy goes up pretty quickly after that. And Easter sometimes is in March, sometimes it's in April. So Easter candy may be up for months. And it turns out that sort of part of the customer journey around Easter candy is that they start to buy sort of their favorite Easter candies actually quite early. They buy Cadbury eggs and so forth, in February or March, and it's sort of the reminder of, oh, Easter's coming, and this thing that I haven't been able to get for a year that I really love, these Cadbury eggs or whatever, are now suddenly available. Part of the reason that that's important is it gets people thinking about, well, I'm going to buy one of these just so I can eat it. But they're also start thinking about, like, well, what am I going to put in my family's Easter baskets this year? Or what are the important Easter candies and Easter items to have? Where am I going to shop? Whatever. And so the Easter purchasing, it's this customer journey around Easter candy and Easter products, where it actually starts quite a while before Easter, when in fact people probably don't buy the actual stuff that goes into their family's Easter baskets until the week before. But there's all these stores that are talking about this product and whatever, because frankly the store wants people to come in when they're doing their shopping and go, oh, this is the place where I can get the Easter stuff. But the manufacturer, like Hershey's, wants to be like, hey, this, here's all that Easter stuff that you want to be thinking about, so that when Easter comes along, you've already thought about it and I'm in your consideration set. And you're like, oh yeah, I need to get those Cadbury eggs or whatever it is. So that's the idea of customer journey mapping. And you can hopefully see how doing this process of going through customer journey mapping and really understanding how the customer thinks about every stage of the process can really help you think about, how do I determine how I'm going to create, promote my product. How am I going to talk about it? How am I going to price my product? Where am I going to sell my product? And then ultimately, what are the features and benefits and so forth that people get when they use my product, so that I can create that loyal customer who advocates and goes and tells everybody, hey, you should either go to that restaurant or buy that, chocolate, or purchase that, uh, purchase that winter coat or whatever it is.